in the first phase of repairing the Saenger. That will be the second phase. The first phase, and we just had the bid revised to include an additional 30% of decking, so that the quote now is right around $32,000 to replace that flat portion of the roof. We'll still have to go out and find someone who can do, I believe that's called the mansard, is that correct? The mansard, even though the roof had been repaired a couple times in the past and we thought replaced, they never addressed the mansard. So that is part of the reason why when a microcell came through 3 years ago, it ripped the roof off and started the damage. Another view of it, you can see the decking that definitely has got to be replaced. This is a Saenger Theater in Mobile, Alabama. We have a gentleman who is actually in town for the next few weeks from Mobile, talking about the Saenger Theater. It is packed every time they're open for a show, every single time. It's been completely restored. It's a little bit larger than our theater. Rightfully so. Mobile's about 188,000 people. We're about less than 50,000. Basically, when they restored this, it started a revitalization effort downtown Mobile, and that continues now. Pensacola, here's a view of theirs. There's also a little bit larger theater. They basically say the same thing. We are going down to visit them the first week of October to sit down with them and try to figure out best practices. We've got to figure out something to measure ourselves on and find out the best practices that these other theaters did. Preservationists say that if you piecemeal stuff, you probably waste $1 million in your efforts. So we're trying very hard not to waste that $1 million. The money's too hard to get. So we've got to take this with a methodical method and benchmark ourselves to the other theaters to see what's the best. This is Texarkana. This is actually could be considered our sister theater. It was opened a week after our Saenger Theater was opened. So what do we need to do? First of all, we have to replace the roof. We're looking at $35,000 now. We need to do it yesterday. It will not survive another year without the roof being replaced. I'm sorry, but those are the facts. Now, does that mean we'll tear it down? No, we can still restore it, but it's going to cost more money. Just the plaster is approximately $3 million to replace. So we'd like to have, to be able to go in and repair instead of completely replace. Pump out the water, we did that. We had equipment donation to pump the water out. The water is starting to come back in. There's about 4 inches in it now compared to 6 feet that was there before. We had United Water come out and take a look at it and analyze it. It is groundwater. They told us that that's normal. It's coming back in because we do not have electricity to run the sump pump that's there. So at some point within the next 30 days, we'll go back in and repump it out again. The complete building restoration, on the business plan that we have, the estimates are $5 million. That's a number of years old. You need to add about 2% per year. So that's probably going to run up $7 million maybe. We don't know yet. The technical equipment, at least $2 million. The support building, which is a building next to the Saenger, which we're calling the Saenger Support Building, would cost about $2 million to restore. The total here is showing $9 million. It's going to be more like $12 to $15 million by the time we're done. And once again, without a roof replacement this year, the building will basically be lost, and the liability is too great for Old Town Theater Center to handle. We will consider demolishing it or doing something else with it. I believe we can keep this from happening. I believe we're going to raise the money. I believe we're going to find this angel. We've got a number of things that I'm not able to discuss at this point that we're working on, simply because of who we're working with. At the time that it can be published, it will be published. So how would we use it? We've got a list of special events, and we also have theater events. Basically everything you can think of that we'll throw in there. We're going to have a goal of 100 performances per year in the theater. Pensacola has a management company that they have hired, and they are charged with doing 150 shows a year. So there may be shows that we can bring in that'll run a full week. We don't know yet. But we've got to get it restored before we get to this point. We're going to, as I said before, we're going to go look at the other theaters, primarily the Saenger in Pensacola, Mobile, Hattiesburg, the Perot. There's a Saenger in New Orleans, which is completely out of our class, but we think we ought to go look at it anyway. The Orpheum in Memphis, we were actually there last night for a show. It's magnificent. We're going to go back and sit down with them and talk to them. The Capitol in Port Chester is a larger theater, and it is privately owned, that has been completely restored by private money, his own money. But we think we can probably learn something from that and learn some things where we could save money. Basically all the theaters are city owned except the Capitol. Texarkana and Hattiesburg are both managed by the city and are not doing as well as some of the other theaters. All the other theaters are managed by a 501c3 company. The exception is Pensacola, and they have an actual management company that is responsible for bringing the shows in, and it's basically a rented theater to that management company. The boards are all made up of businessmen, or business people I should say, with very little city intervention. And the main function of the board is to raise money and maintain the theater. I believe we were reading something on the Orpheum that their operating expenses are $1.7 million a year, and that's before they ever put a show in it. So this is a big operation. It's beyond a small group of people to do it. We've got to have a much bigger group to restore this theater, and it's probably going to have to be heavily government relied on, because a lot of the grants we cannot get because we're 501c3. The fundraising campaign, we actually started today with the booth on Smoke on the Water. Ellen, how many t-shirts did we sell?
We sold 2, and we had one couple that came by on their way from the Blues for a cause,
right.
And they were going to donate on their way back.
Okay.
I had another couple stop and ask for the website information,
okay,
so that they could use PayPal, and
good.
I wrote it down and gave it to
Good.
them.
And of course, Charlie came by last night and bought one, and he's wearing it today. Stand up, show it. That's our new
Turn it around.
Put it off last night.
Good. How much money did you get? How much money did you get? Did you ask for money?
Well, no, but I had somebody give me a $5 bill.
Oh, okay. But that was to you. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
One more.
Absolutely.
On the way.
Absolutely. In a few weeks, we have discussed this with a couple of firemen, and we've got to actually go to the fire chief to make sure that they will do this, but they've indicated that they would help us do a citywide blitz on one weekend where they set up at street intersections. In addition to that, we'll set up booths at Walmart, maybe at the mall, some other places where there are people that are going to be, going around during that day, and do a complete citywide blitz for that one day and see how much we can raise. We're going to be doing some concerts. We have a number of people who have volunteered their time to do concerts. I think we can do them maybe at Barracue Plaza, maybe Saracen Landing, and maybe both. We do have t-shirts for sale. We are going to put them on the website probably next week. We don't have coffee cups yet, but we're going to order some coffee cups. We've got a major ad in the Little Rock Democrat, which I mentioned. We're going to take that same ad, put it in the New York Times, some other major cities, such as LA, Dallas, Chicago, to name a few. And we are going to start getting involved with major businesses in Pine Bluff and Arkansas and try to bring them on board and raise additional monies through that. I didn't turn my phone off. This is my last slide. This is the Perot, but this could very easily be our Saenger in very few years. But it takes all of us to make it happen. This theater belongs to Pine Bluff and Arkansas. We just happen to be the ones that are trying to keep it here so that it stays. We need everybody's help. We now have time for a short question and answer period. We do request that you keep your questions short so that we don't exceed 5 minutes per person asking questions. Please state your name and then your question.
All right, my name's Don Plumley. I actually spoke with Jack before on the phone. You said a while ago that as far as the ownership issues, those have been resolved as far as appearing at the Jefferson County Courthouse?
Right.
All right, are you aware that the P.O. box is still in error as of today's date?
I know it, sir.
You know it's wrong?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that has not
We
been
haven't
corrected.
had a chance to change that yet.
Okay.
What else?
You also stated that your tax filings for the corporation were all current.
That's correct.
State, local, city, federal,
Yep.
all correct.
You can gladly go check it with our accountant.
Okay. Are you aware that Arkansas Secretary of State shows that you have not had a filing since 2009?
No, I'm not.
I have documentation here to show you.
That's fine. We do that through the account every year. So if it's not filed there, it's because it hadn't made it in there.
Yeah. Well, as of right now, there has not been a filing going back. Since
What's your point?
PR, public relations. You know,
No,
if
it
you
isn't
have
that.
if you have large donors going to come in, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to check and do due diligence in the
That's
background. And the little small details, even though your intentions are, you know, layered in gold with best intentions, if you don't take care of the little details, they're going to cause you problems.
Well, thank you. We'll check with, we have an accountant that we file with every year, so we'll see why is that taken care of. So
Okay.
we can deal with that. So
Okay.
thank you for bringing that to our attention.
All right. And one other thing.